Investigators say a Mini Cooper stalled and called 911, and while they were waiting, a Toyota Tacoma slammed into the car. 2 other people were taken to the hospital. Police in Kansas City say 2 juveniles are in custody in connection to yesterday's shooting in Kansas City. 1 person was killed, more than 20 others injured, including 9 children. That shooting broke out after the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. A 3rd suspect is also detained. And the Oakland Ballers have a new home for their inaugural season. The team announced a $1.6 million investment into Ramondi Park in West Oakland. The team secured funding from private investors and a field rental agreement with the city. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8 and 9 p.m. on the all-new Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
The rain has come to an end, at least for now. We're in a dry break as we gear up for more rain to roll in heading into our weekend forecast. And this weekend storm is going to be a lot heavier than the one that we had just on Valentine's Day yesterday. Let's talk about that, because today and tomorrow, these are the days to prepare as we gear up for those heavy showers building their way in. This weekend, we could see anywhere up to around 2, 3, 4 inches of rainfall, but it happens into our Saturday morning forecast. Notice how I advanced the clock all throughout the day today and tomorrow, and it was just partly cloudy, kind of what we see when we look out our window right now. It's not until early Saturday morning where we see those showers build in from offshore, and this is a part of a series of showers that are going to continue to move in as we head into early next week. We see that first one move in on Saturday, a little bit of a break as we gear up for our Sunday storm, and this one has a lot more energy to it. This will continue to bring out moisture all throughout our California coastline up into the Pacific Northwest, lasting into mid next week. And that'll bring snow to the Sierra too. But back here in the Bay, we can see anywhere up to around 7 inches in those higher elevated areas like Ben Lomond, and anywhere from around 2 to 3 inches along the peninsula, 4 to 5 up in the North Bay, and that's until next Wednesday. Now for our friends over in the Sierra Tahoe area, up until next Wednesday, we could see anywhere up to around 30 inches of snow in regions like Kirkwood, stretching all the way into Bear Valley, about 10 inches up more north, closer to Truckee. So lots of changes happening with the storm as we head into this weekend. Let's enjoy the dry day that we have today. It is cloudy still throughout the Bay Area, but at least it's dry, and that's the case for us our Friday forecast too. And then we're talking about upper 50s and lower 60s for our daytime highs, not only today and tomorrow, but lasting into this weekend as well. Now the winds are going to start getting a lot gustier too as we head into this weekend with those storms. So let's talk about that. Each of these tubes shows you what the weather is going to be like for that day, and for our inland forecast and the Bay forecast, we're pretty much all the same. So dry conditions today and tomorrow, despite the fact that those clouds are holding on tight to us. And then here we go into the weekend and early next week, consistent showers lingering into next Tuesday and Wednesday's forecast as well. And there's a chance of thunderstorm activity in early next week as well.
In Kansas City, a search for answers now underway, and what was supposed to be a huge celebration honoring the Chiefs' Super Bowl victory became a deadly mass shooting yesterday.
Guys.
The sound of gunfire sent people running for safety. 1 person died, more than 20 people were injured, including 9 children. Police had detained several suspects as they investigate why those shots were fired. Brian Locke reports from Kansas City.
Investigators are searching for a motive behind the deadly shooting that erupted yesterday as the Chiefs' victory celebration was wrapping up.
Preliminary investigative findings have shown there was no nexus to terrorism or homegrown violent extremism. This appeared to be a dispute between several people that ended in gunfire.
Popular local radio DJ Lisa Lopez Galvan was killed by the gunfire. A friend described the mother of 2 as a wonderful, beautiful person full of life.
It's just crazy. We're all still in shock right now.
Jacob Gooch Sr. was hit with a gunshot. So were his wife and son. He heard what he describes as an altercation. His daughter saw a shooter open fire.
My daughter said that some lady was like holding him back, and people had started backing up, and then he pulled it out and just started shooting and spinning in a circle.
Several bystanders, including Paul Contreras, helped subdue one potential suspect.
As I'm tackling him, I either hit the gun out of his hand or it fell out of his sleeve.
All the Chiefs players who had been celebrating on stage were quickly rushed to safety. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes posted a message praying for Kansas City. Kansas City's mayor has a message for people struggling to cope. He says it's okay to be hurting today, and he urges everyone to hug their children.
And investigators are interviewing eyewitnesses, reviewing cell phone videos, and collecting gun shell casings. They have set up a tip line as they work to reconstruct the crime scene and move toward filing charges. And we're seeing a lot of reaction on social media. The Kansas City Chiefs put out a statement thanking first responders, saying, "Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and all of Kansas City." Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes wrote on X that he's praying for Kansas City. Tight end Travis Kelce says he's heartbroken, writing on X, "My heart is with all who came out to celebrate with us and have been affected. KC, you mean the world to me." President Joe Biden said the shooting cuts deep into the American soul and called on Congress to enact stricter gun legislation, asking, what have we been waiting for? What else do we need to see? How many more people need to be torn apart? In San Francisco, Mayor London Breed wrote, "What should have been a celebration is now heartbreaking. I reached out to Mayor Lucas to offer our support and love during this difficult and tragic time." Stay with us for continuing coverage of the shooting in Kansas City. We'll update you on air on KPIX.com and streaming on the free CBS News app. Well, the state is revealing the results of the governor's CHP surge operation in the East Bay as part of its effort to fight crime in the area. Just last week, the governor deployed more than 100 CHP officers to Oakland and other East Bay neighborhoods. During that operation, Newsom's office says officers made 71 arrests, recovered 145 stolen cars, and seized 4 guns linked to crimes. The goal of the new partnership aims to bring in agencies from all over the East Bay to improve public safety. Our Katie Nielsen spoke with businesses and local leaders in Oakland who say it's obvious something needs to change.
These are like natural roses, I think she was saying.
Dominic Prado's taco shop is filled with flowers, but no customers this Valentine's Day. A few months ago, he was forced to close. He said there simply wasn't enough business because of all the violent crime in the neighborhood.
We all, in some way, have the same background and come from different circumstances, and we've all been impacted.
Today, he's helping out a nearby business with their Valentine's Day flowers and deliveries. Something he says he never could have imagined himself doing back in the 90s when he went to prison for robbery. He says his past is part of the reason why he's now an outspoken advocate for improving public safety in Oakland and wants to see not just more police, but more importantly, programs to prevent crime in the first place.
We're losing our kids to violence, to crime, and if we're not providing nothing as a city, as a society for them, are we doing our best?
In Oakland, certainly, when it comes to safety, we have an emergency.
Noel Gallo is the Oakland City Council member who represents the Fruitvale and says he welcomes any and all help from outside agencies.
We need the support. We have an emergency, and politically, let's quit playing games with it and let's address the needs of the people that are here.
People like Dominic, who says he is committed to making Oakland safer for everyone.
I'm not going to take it lying down. I'm going to try to be active and be vocal about what I see needs to happen.
According to the governor's office, CHP will be increasing patrols in Oakland. But the office did not provide any information about how many officers could be assigned to Oakland, when those patrols will be happening, or who will be monitoring their progress.
And that partnership between CHP and law enforcement agencies raising concerns among some Oakland residents. I had a chance to speak to Kat Brooks of the Anti-Police Terror Project about the deployment.
The most pressing thing facing Oakland and Oaklanders are the rise of homicides and the rise of robberies. The majority of engagement they had was dealing with the recovery of stolen cars. Cops do not prevent crime. They respond to it after the fact, which is why those of us who are clamoring for investment in prevention, clamoring for the violence not to happen in the first place, are saying that for a city and a state that are millions and millions of dollars in deficit, and this is likely going to be the one bite we get at a large investment apple to make our city safer.
And let's not forget that Oakland still does not have a permanent police chief. It's been a year since Mayor Tao fired former Chief LaRon Armstrong, who is now suing the city for wrongful termination. The Oakland Police Commission is still searching for his replacement and says it will deliver the final list of candidates to the mayor by next month. And still ahead on CBS News Bay Area. Not the spirit of aloha on board a flight to Hawaii out of Oakland what caused this melee. Plus, is a different calling for Oakland's former top cop, a new beat for LaRon Armstrong. And a group of teens in Oakland putting in the hard work. We should take you to the circus school after the break.
These are the stories that inspire us,
This is where we're going to build all the bikes.
connect us,
All right, guys.
drive us. These are the stories that reveal our true character.
This is the most rewarding thing that I've ever done.
Told by those who believe in the power of community.
Oh my goodness.
Good to see you.
The kinds of stories you'll only see here.
Oh, man.
Our stories define us.
Today is a dry day for us here in the Bay Area, and so is tomorrow. But once we head into this weekend's forecast, we have big storms moving in from offshore. It's going to impact all of us throughout the Bay Area with localized flooding possible, downed trees and power outages, just like the last storm that we saw as it moved its way in from offshore. Now, this is a back-to-back atmospheric river event. These storms are consistent as we head into early next week, and we could see anywhere up to around 2 to 3 inches along the peninsula from this system alone, and about 4 to 5 inches up in the North Bay, with more impressive numbers all the way down into the higher elevated areas near the Santa Cruz Mountains.
Well, a wild brawl broke out on a flight from the Bay Area to Hawaii, and the Southwest Airlines jet had just been in the air for about an hour after departing from Oakland International Airport when the fists started flying. This is just the latest in a series of mid-air incidents and fights sparking safety concerns, and as our Elizabeth Cook reports, it's prompted an FAA investigation.
It's not the first time there's been a physical altercation in the air. The FAA says in the last 10 years, it has initiated more than 1,000 enforcement actions against unruly passengers.
A brawl broke out between passengers before a flight takes off from Japan to the U.S.
Happened again. A fight breaking out between two passengers on a Southwest flight just before takeoff.
But some flight attendants tell us they're surprised it happened on a route to Kauai.
You know, that's really sad. I mean, they're coming to Hawaii. Why would they be fighting?
The Federal Department of Transportation posted about the incident on X, formerly known as Twitter, saying, quote, "Our department has zero tolerance for violent or unruly behavior aboard an aircraft. If you act out on an airplane, you can face criminal prosecution and fines up to $37,000, end quote. But some are coming to the defense of the man who appeared to be throwing many of the punches in the video. His son telling the popular Instagram page Mean Hawaii that there was a confrontation between his parents and an alleged drunk passenger who refused requests to stop bothering his mom.
And I understand if he was defending his wife. I mean that's a human quality. But you know, we gotta be adults.
The FAA says it is aware of the incident and looking into whether passengers involved will face fines or other enforcement actions.
New numbers on accidental drug overdose deaths in San Francisco. The announcement turned into a plea for help to federal and state regulators. 66 people died in January. 80% of the ODs involved fentanyl. That is down from about 21% from last January when 84 people died. The health department said they need easier access to methadone, an addiction treatment drug that can cut deaths by half. They say strict and outdated regulations are standing in the way. Right now, the drug can only be dispensed at licensed methadone clinics, but some federal rules are loosening later this year.
I don't know who thought of this one to even implement. They are eliminating the requirement that patients must experience opioid addiction for at least a year before receiving methadone. I don't know where that ever came from. It's ridiculous.
Right now, primary care physicians are not even allowed to prescribe methadone, but starting in April, there will be telehealth options and patients will be able to take home more than one dose. The city is working with state lawmakers to make methadone even more accessible here in California. Vallejo's interim police chief is expected to resign after less than 16 months on the job. It's the second police chief to leave the city since May of 2020. Open Vallejo is reporting Chief Jason Ta has accepted the job as Salinas' new police chief. We reached out to Vallejo officials, but they declined to comment. Top Cop has a new beat. Our Vern Glenn spoke to LeBron Armstrong about how he turned in his badge and picked up a whistle.
For the first month or so, they didn't know who I was. They was like, oh, he's just coach. And now recently they're like, oh, that's Chief Armstrong.
LeBron Armstrong has a new beat.
Good passes, TJ. Knock it down, Josh.
He's patrolling the sideline for Oakland's Bishop O'Dowd boys basketball team. When I say Coach Armstrong, do you kind of, you have to double take a little bit?
It's still new for me.
Yeah?
I'm still getting used to it, but it's something that makes me smile. It feels like I'm back at the home place where I used to be.
The former Oakland police chief was let go last year after over 2 decades on the force. So it was an easy decision when his friend and longtime Dragons head coach Lou Ritchie asked him to help out.
For me, it's just a perfect segue into how you should enjoy your retirement. Being around young people that give you energy, watching young people develop, and then being able to give them any kind of help that you can.
I think the coaching staff has just been enamored with the job that Coach has done and being able to come in and give real world aspects to things that are bigger than basketball, as well as his basketball acumen. You know, some people didn't know he used to play. Some people didn't know he's a coach. They didn't know he was a ref. So he has a great perspective.
Remember, if you rebound, we win, right? Yes, sir. When you rebound, we win. Okay, let's do it. Let's go.
Armstrong is no stranger to the hardwood. He played at McClymonds High School and in college at Sacramento State. Are you also one of those guys, boys, when I play?
Well, you always got to have those stories, right? You always have to be one that says, hey, I used to shoot the three really well, right? And so when you're giving them tips that they can respect that, particularly when they hear you played in college, they go, okay, I'll listen to you a little bit more because I know you have some experience. Way to shoot it, Sam. Block out, rebound. Captains.
Yeah, I didn't know he played actually until recently. I didn't even know he was the chief of police till a few practices ago, and yeah, he definitely brings, he's always positive, and he knows what he's talking about.
He definitely has a lot of experience under his belt and just a lot of knowledge to transfer to the younger generation.
I've taken the role of being able to go in and try to calm them down and try to get them to refocus and be motivated about getting back out there on the floor. And so that's really been my role this year, and I really feel good about that.
Yeah, Chris, good job, Chris.
I do want to thank you guys for welcoming me into the O'Dowd basketball family, and I look forward to seeing what this year brings for us, all right? So hard work, man. I appreciate it. Let's keep it going.
Yeah. From chief to coach, the one constant for Armstrong has been giving back to his community.
1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, Family Squad!
And you can find all of our Black in the Bay stories on our website at kpix.com. And be sure to watch our Black in the Bay special at 4 p.m. on February 23rd, right here on CBS News Bay Area. And still ahead, these Bay Area teens are literally juggling their studies with Circus School, how they're keeping alive a unique performing art. And a reminder, you can stream CBS News Bay Area wherever, whenever. Catch all of our live newscasts and news and weather updates throughout the day. Find us on the free CBS News app or on Pluto TV.
This is Pix Plus. More of what you want, more often. More local news in the morning and the primetime edition. The only 8 and 9 p.m. news. With Devin Peely, Elizabeth Cook, Juliette Goodrich, and Sarah Donchi. Groundbreaking original storytelling from the KPIX newsroom. Plus Bear Politics, Project Earth, and weather like you've never seen. The primetime edition. Weeknights on the new Pix Plus. 44 Cable 12.
Here in the Bay Area, we're getting a much-needed dry break from the rain that we had yesterday for Valentine's Day and the rain that's right around the corner as we head into this weekend's forecast. Our daytime highs today are topping off mostly in the 60s throughout the Santa Clara Valley. A similar trend off into the East Bay. And for our friends all the way up into the North Bay, upper 50s and lower 60s are expected as we head into the evening hours tonight. Now, I want to show you what's happening for us right around the corner. We have dry conditions today and tomorrow, but the rain starts to ramp up as early as Saturday morning. That's going to last as we head into the afternoon hours on Saturday with back-to-back atmospheric river events impacting all of us throughout the Bay Area from the Santa Cruz Mountains all the way up into wine country too. And we see that storm already out in the Pacific developing as we move into this weekend's forecast. That's going to last into early next week. And the Weather Prediction Center is showing anywhere up to around 5 inches in areas like San Rafael, Santa Rosa, and about 7 inches expected down in those Santa Cruz Mountains.
Well, you probably heard the expression, run away to join the circus, but a group of talented teens in Oakland did not have to go far to do that. Leslie Gooden shows us the circus school that's keeping this type of performance art alive.
This is high school senior Amelia. And when she isn't studying, you can find her getting ready to practice at her circus school.
I've been doing circus since I was really little, and I feel like it's just kind of
like a skill that's good to have if you do any sort of circus discipline, to also be able to juggle.
Amelia spends over 15 hours a week at the Kinetic Arts Center in Oakland. Here she does everything from juggling, acrobatics, to silks.
I think I've learned, like, it's okay to try things that are scary and, like, even maybe feel a little bit dangerous. But, like, if you do them in a safe environment, like, you can learn a lot and, like, really expand your comfort zone.
In these walls, she's practicing balancing, counting, and working with teammates like Sadie.
Part of circus, it doesn't feel like it's a dying breed just because I'm here all the time, and like it seems like a bigger community when you're part of it, you know?
The troupe is currently prepping for their upcoming circus show called Beware, a Monstrous Circus. Already, they've been a hit under the big top. Amelia and 6 of her classmates auditioned and were accepted into the only tinted traveling youth circus in the country, called Circus Smirkus. It's here she will travel throughout New England for 10 weeks performing. The owner, Victoria, says the magic has been happening in this warehouse since 2009. Sharing these young performers is why she keeps going.
So much better.
All of a sudden, I'll hear, "I did it!" And I know it's someone who has been struggling really hard to try to get a trick. And all of a sudden, it all came together for them. That is very rewarding. That and the fact that I can hire all of these artists.
I feel like I've been doing it for so long, it kind of, like, it's hard to imagine my life without it.
And with just a few weeks until her last performance, Amelia is taking in every jump and moment.
The Beware, a Monstrous Circus production, runs from March 1st through the 24th at Kinetic Arts Center. Tickets are available for free online. And coming up in our next half hour in CBS News Bay Area, it was a victory for love in the LGBTQ community. We look back 20 years later on the so-called Winter of Love in San Francisco. Plus, we'll introduce you to a pair of empty nesters whose lives have definitely slowed down. How they beat loneliness on Valentine's Day, all thanks to a new app.
These are your neighborhoods. This is your world. CBS News Bay Area.
Still ahead on KPI.
With Juliette Goodrich. And the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell. Taking you to the day's top stories. Smart, comprehensive coverage. And immersive weather like you have never seen it. Join Juliette Goodrich and Nora O'Donnell, weeknight 6 to 7:30 on KPIX.
Ryan Yamamoto. This is The Minute. Today, the A's will meet with the Oakland officials to discuss a lease extension at the Coliseum. The team is hoping to stay until their new Vegas ballpark is built. If the A's don't stay at the Coliseum, they could potentially play temporarily in Sacramento, Salt Lake City, or even at Oracle Park. San Jose-based tech firm Cisco says it's cutting 4,000 jobs around the world. This comes as the internet network company is projecting slower demand for its products. It follows other recent layoffs in the tech center, including Microsoft and Google. And San Jose's Raging Waters amusement park is ready for a comeback. Two city leaders say the park is looking to reopen under new management this summer. The park shut down when the company ended their lease last year. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8, 9 p.m. on the all-new Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
The rain has come to an end, at least for now. We're in a dry break as we gear up for more rain to roll in heading into our weekend forecast. And this weekend storm is going to be a lot heavier than the one that we had just on Valentine's Day yesterday. Let's talk about that, because today and tomorrow, these are the days to prepare as we gear up for those heavy showers building their way in. This weekend, we could see anywhere up to around 2, 3, 4 inches of rainfall, but it happens into our Saturday morning forecast. Notice how I advanced the clock all throughout the day today and tomorrow, and it was just partly cloudy, kind of what we see when we look out our window right now. It's not until early Saturday morning where we see those showers build in from offshore, and this is a part of a series of showers that are going to continue to move in as we head into early next week. We see that first one move in on Saturday, a little bit of a break as we gear up for our Sunday storm, and this one has a lot more energy to it. This will continue to bring out moisture all throughout our California coastline up into the Pacific Northwest, lasting into mid next week. And that'll bring snow to the Sierra too. But back here in the Bay, we can see anywhere up to around 7 inches in those higher elevated areas like Ben Lomond, and anywhere from around 2 to 3 inches along the peninsula, 4 to 5 up in the North Bay, and that's until next Wednesday. Now for our friends over in the Sierra Tahoe area, up until next Wednesday, we could see anywhere up to around 30 inches of snow in regions like Kirkwood, stretching all the way into Bear Valley, about 10 inches up more north, closer to Truckee. So lots of changes happening with the storm as we head into this weekend. Let's enjoy the dry day that we have today. It is cloudy still throughout the Bay Area, but at least it's dry, and that's the case for us our Friday forecast too. And then we're talking about upper 50s and lower 60s for our daytime highs, not only today and tomorrow, but lasting into this weekend as well. Now the winds are going to start getting a lot gustier too as we head into this weekend with those storms. So let's talk about that. Each of these tubes shows you what the weather is going to be like for that day, and for our inland forecast and the Bay forecast, we're pretty much all the same. So dry conditions today and tomorrow, despite the fact that those clouds are holding on tight to us. And then here we go into the weekend and early next week, consistent showers lingering into next Tuesday and Wednesday's forecast as well. And there's a chance of thunderstorm activity in early next week as well.
Well, San Francisco is celebrating a watershed moment in the fight for marriage equality. It's been 20 years since the Winter of Love, when then Mayor Gavin Newsom defied state law and called on local officials to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples. In the following days, hundreds of same-sex couples lined up at City Hall to get married. The city issued more than 4,000 marriage licenses over the next month. And yesterday, about 200 couples tied the knot at City Hall. And it was a reunion of sorts for some of the people at the forefront of the fight for equality. Mayor London Breed reflected on this historic milestone.
We're celebrating the advocacy of so many of those same-sex couples who showed up to San Francisco year after year after year, asking for the right to do what anyone else deserves the right to do, and that is marry the person they love.
And one of the first couples to marry 20 years ago renewed their vows yesterday. Lorene Ayub spoke to them about how their love story helped change the course of history.
It's been 20 years since the Winter of Love. Now couples of all backgrounds are expressing gratitude today on Valentine's Day for compassionate equality.
What better day to get married than on Valentine's Day? Well, for some, perhaps on both Valentine's Day and on the 20-year anniversary of the Winter of Love, a time when former Mayor Gavin Newsom took a stand for marriage equality. John and Stuart were some of the first to marry in City Hall 2 decades ago.
Well, 20 years ago, we showed up for a rally to start supporting the freedom to marry right here in San Francisco. And it turned out to be the first hour that San Francisco was opening its doors.
opening its doors to a new era of legal rights for the LGBTQ community. John and Stuart reflect on how far they've come as a couple, but also on even what their own parents endured generations before.
My mom's Chinese American, my dad English and Irish American, and they faced discrimination and they faced laws against their marriage and against our family.
For John and Stuart, City Hall is a sacred symbol of their journey and all that has come since then. Their boldness has enabled couples like Jackie and Catherine to be able to marry today.
Loyalty and understanding.
When we made our plans to get married on this day, we did so because it's really important to us that we get married on this day. It's a celebration of love, and it just coincided with the 20-year anniversary, which makes it so much more significant to us.
As the two revel in the joy of their official union, John and Stuart reunite with community members and emphasize the significance of feeling accepted.
It was truly the first time in our lives that we felt as if we were equal human beings.
A form of equality that has sparked many smiles this Valentine's Day.
And the Winter of Love set off a long legal fight for marriage equality. The weddings were voided in August of that year by the California Supreme Court. And in 2008, California voters passed Proposition 8 banning same-sex marriage. It was struck down in 2013, and gay marriage has been legal in our state ever since. And the U.S. Supreme Court made gay marriage legal nationwide 2 years later. And even though Prop 8 isn't in effect, it's still technically in the state constitution. Voters will decide whether to officially repeal it in November. And the San Mateo County Clerk extended its hours yesterday so couples could tie the knot on Valentine's Day. Brides and grooms said their I do's in a small ceremony with family and friends in attendance, but for some, Valentine's Day can bring a sense of loneliness, something that San Mateo County recently declared a public health crisis. Our Mary Lee introduces us to a couple whose lives recently became a little bit more quiet, but they are making new connections thanks to an app geared just for their age group.
Say to yourself, I can.
Jane and Richard Leiter are entering a new season of life. Married for 30 years with two grown daughters who are now both out on their own.
You can be a bit lonely. Maybe you don't want to use that word. It's not embarrassing, but you can be a little quiet, and maybe more quiet than you would like to be.
After you're an empty nester, there's a void in your life, and you look for areas that you can fill that.
For empty nesters-ish, you're never
They joined the activity-based friendship app Wiser Friends to meet new people and expand their social circle.
I don't think I'm old. In my head, I think I'm 40, Mary Lee. So let's just get that out there. But it's a little bit tricky. Like, I am a doer, and I live in the city of San Francisco, and I love to go out and do things. And recently, I had tickets for the ballet, and my husband was out of town. I couldn't get anyone to go with me, and I jumped on the Wiser and said, hey, who wants to go to the ballet? And I ended up sitting next to this nice gentleman. It was not a date. It was just somebody who had the passion for the ballet.
That's exactly what the founders of Wiser Friends were hoping for. Two friends, Carolyn Kelly and Taylor J., share a passion to create community and connect like-minded adults 40 years old and up, a group often overlooked in social apps.
The inspiration was our fathers, actually. We were thinking our fathers are lonely, they're in their 80s, and we were worried about them. They had a mutual love of Costco that just wasn't enough to bring them together from San Diego and LA. But we soon realized it's not about our fathers. It's really about older adults like us.
It is pretty clear from a number of epidemiological studies that social isolation is as bad for your health as smoking.
According to the U.S. Surgeon General's advisory on loneliness and isolation, a quarter of Americans 65 years old and up are socially isolated, and those over age 50 are at greater risk of becoming lonely.
Many people describe loneliness the way they do physical pain.
For Jane and Richard, they're choosing to break out of their comfort zone, make new friends, and embrace this time in their lives.
You know, the great adventure begins. You know, we're older, but we got a lot of spin on the ball.
They're dedicated to building strong social connection and community, making their golden years truly shine.
Health experts point out social connection is not only important for your mental health, but for your physical health as well. Up next, MLB history being made this week. Meet the inspiring woman breaking down barriers.
Your late night is getting a whole lot better for two reasons. Sarah and Stephen. The Late News with Sarah Donchie. Then The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Back with all new episodes.
Really?
These are two shows you'll want to spend the night with.
Then go to sleep knowing you won at TV. What?
Record it, stream it, watch it live. The Late News and the all-new Late Show. Weeknights starting at 11 on KPIX.
Well, the Niners are shaking things up just days after their heartbreaking loss in the Super Bowl yesterday. The team announced it is parting ways with defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. Wilks lasted just one season with the Niners, replacing DeMeco Ryans, but things just never seemed to click between Wilks and Shanahan.
It was a hard job for him all along because he was coming into a system where it was something that he didn't run. You know, he had to come and learn what we did, and you know, we were the #1 defense a year ago, and it's hard to sustain that type of play, but we still were a top defense in this league.
History made in Major League Baseball this week. The 2024 Oakland A's broadcast will feature the first woman to be a primary play-by-play announcer in the league. Andrea Nakano introduces us to her.
To Jenny Kavnar, who will be the first primary female play-by-play announcer.
Jenny Kavnar has come a long way since taking a sports reporter job in San Diego. She's a creative storyteller, a polished pre- and post-game show host, and now will be calling A's games on TV.
You know, getting the job in San Diego is a dream. Going home to Colorado, where I was born and raised, was a dream. And now this wasn't even on my radar 10 years ago, and it's here, and I'm just blown away.
Kavnar credits the many women she's worked with and followed along the way for opening doors in the sports world.
Finding that drive in you and pushing you and
There's just been so many people that I'm really grateful for and seeing something in me that I don't know I would have found on my own.
Klay Thompson got a hand on it right back to the Clippers, and they'll keep the ball. Harden up top resets.
The Bay Area has set an example by hiring women in visible jobs in sports media. Janie McCauley is a sports writer for the Associated Press and came to the Bay Area in 2002.
I have 2 young daughters, 15 and almost 13, and so each time something like this happens with Jenny or, Amelia as the PA announcer, it shows my girls and girls everywhere, they can do whatever they want.
Janie says she's had an amazing support system from the moment she arrived. She has one piece of advice: to not be afraid to make mistakes.
It's not an easy job she's about to do, and so I'm so proud of her. She's going to shine, but also know that, there may be some bumps in the road, and we're all still learning.
But with Jenny's success, she's giving young girls hope that dreams can come true.
The story is more the fact that the next generation is going to have a lot of opportunity because there's representation across the board, across sports, across women seeing themselves in different roles and what they can do.
And while we should mention, while Jenny was filling in or becoming the A's voice of the A's, she was filling in last night for the Golden State Warriors and for Tim Roy. Well, coming up, we'll have much more.
It's really kind of like a rite of passage.
I would like to see the headlines that the national press picks up on and say, look, there's another side to the Bay Area.
We take those headlines a little step further to sort of connect all these wonderful communities here.
Really embracing the positivity and hopefully spreading it.
The Bay Area is full of some amazing, innovative change makers.
People that are out there making a difference.
In fact, I feel privileged that I get to share those stories.
Wake up with the Morning Edition, weekdays on KPIX.
Here in the Bay Area, we're getting a much-needed dry break from the rain that we had yesterday for Valentine's Day and the rain that's right around the corner as we head into this weekend's forecast. Our daytime highs today are topping off mostly in the 60s throughout the Santa Clara Valley, a similar trend off into the East Bay. And for our friends all the way up into the North Bay, upper 50s and lower 60s are expected as we head into the evening hours tonight. Now, I want to show you what's happening for us right around the corner. We have dry conditions today and tomorrow, but the rain starts to ramp up as early as Saturday morning. That's going to last as we head into the afternoon hours on Saturday, with back-to-back atmospheric river events impacting all of us throughout the Bay Area, from the Santa Cruz Mountains all the way up into wine country too. And we see that storm already out in the Pacific developing as we move into this weekend's forecast. That's going to last into early next week, and the Weather Prediction Center is showing anywhere up to around 5 inches in areas like San Rafael, Santa Rosa, and about 7 inches expected down in those Santa Cruz Mountains.
Well, it's a tradition that dates back more than a century. Strolling has been a rite of passage for black sororities and universities all over the country. Our Itai Hod went toe-to-toe with some of the Bay Area's best strollers to see what this dance is all about.
When Mignon Minor was a little girl, she watched her aunties and cousins take part in a century-old tradition called strolling. Now that she's a grown-up, she's following in their footsteps.
Being around that type of environment was exciting. I wanted to get up and dance too.
She'll finally get her chance at this year's Black Joy Parade in Oakland, along with dozens of her sorority sisters, all dressed in their signature pink and green colors.
I am very happy right now. I'm excited because we're learning a new stroll.
Strolling is a synchronized dance that traces back to the early 1900s. Over the years, it became a visual representation of the spirit of black sororities during events and public appearances.
It's really kind of like a rite of passage, right? You learn your first stroll, and also oftentimes on college campuses, that's your first introduction to a Black Greek letter organization.
Maya Mosley is the president of the San Francisco graduate chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, the oldest African-American sorority. She says strolling involves rhythmic movements, hand signs, and specific steps unique to each organization.
You'll see a lot of looking in the mirror, you know, because we are pretty girls, and so we have to check our mirror.
Strolling instructor Carlette Garrett says the dance is so simple,
Left and left.
anyone can do it.
Right. Left and left.
Well, almost anyone.
The magic of strolling is the camaraderie that you come together with your sisters and you show to the world, whoever is watching, that you're unified, you're representing.
Mignon says she's been rehearsing for this moment her entire life.
I still feel like it's a dream that I'm here.
Now, all she has to do is remember the steps that will sweep onlookers off their feet.
And be sure to catch our special Black in the Bay. That's on Friday, February 23rd at 4 p.m. right here on CBS News Bay Area. Now for a look at some of today's most talked about stories. Yesterday, of course, Valentine's Day, and despite the rain, lovers and friends in San Francisco found distinct ways to celebrate, like by hitting each other in the face. The annual pillow fight in Embarcadero Plaza was a bit smaller this year due to the weather, but no less enthusiastic. A museum in Croatia's capital city celebrated breakups on Valentine's Day. Everything on display represents broken relationships. There's a collection of nearly 5,000 items donated from people around the world who've fallen out of love. The museum has a website showing a global map of broken hearts where you can share your own story if you would like. And after 5 years, Jennifer Lopez is stepping back on the big stage to perform a nationwide tour. She'll be singing hits from her whole catalog, including songs from her new album, This Is Me Now. J-Lo's going to make a stop in the Bay Area as well on July 16th at Chase Center. Tickets go on sale next Friday. Well, thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. We'll be right back with your first alert forecast and a look at your top stories. I'm Ryan Yamamoto. This is The Minute. 2 people were killed in the crash on the Bay Bridge. It happened on the lower deck near the Treasure Island exit a little after 4 a.m. Investigators say a Mini Cooper stalled and called 911, and while they were waiting, a Toyota Tacoma slammed into the car. 2 other people were taken to the hospital. Police in Kansas City say 2 juveniles are in custody in connection to yesterday's shooting in Kansas City. 1 person was killed, more than 20 others injured, including 9 children. That shooting broke out after the Chiefs Super Bowl parade. A 3rd suspect is also detained. And the Oakland Ballers have a new home for their inaugural season. The team announced a $1.6 million investment into Ramondi Park in West Oakland. The team secured funding from private investors and a field rental agreement with the city. The Bay Area's only primetime newscast at 8 and 9 p.m. on the all-new Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
The rain has come to an end, at least for now. We're in a dry break as we gear up for more rain to roll in heading into our weekend forecast. And this weekend storm is going to be a lot heavier than the one that we had just on Valentine's Day yesterday. Let's talk about that, because today and tomorrow, these are the days to prepare as we gear up for those heavy showers building their way in. This weekend, we could see anywhere up to around 2, 3, 4 inches of rainfall, but it happens into our Saturday morning forecast. Notice how I advanced the clock all throughout the day, today and tomorrow, and it was just partly cloudy. Kind of what we see when we look out our window right now. It's not until early Saturday morning where we see those showers build in from offshore, and this is a part of a series of showers that are going to continue to move in as we head into early next week. We see that first one move in on Saturday, a little bit of a break as we gear up for our Sunday storm, and this one has a lot more energy to it. This will continue to bring out moisture all throughout our California coastline up into the Pacific Northwest, lasting into mid next week. And that'll bring snow to the Sierra too. But back here in the Bay, we can see anywhere up to around 7 inches in those higher elevated areas like Ben Lomond, and anywhere from around 2 to 3 inches along the peninsula, 4 to 5 up in the North Bay. And that's until next Wednesday. Now for our friends over in the Sierra Tahoe area, up until next Wednesday, we could see anywhere up to around 30 inches of snow in regions like Kirkwood, stretching all the way into Bear Valley, about 10 inches up more north, closer to Truckee. So lots of changes happening with the storm as we head into this weekend. Let's enjoy the dry day that we have today. It is cloudy still throughout the Bay Area, but at least it's dry. And that's the case for us for our Friday forecast too. And then we're talking about upper 50s and lower 60s for our daytime highs, not only today and tomorrow, but lasting into this weekend as well. Now the winds are going to start getting a lot gustier too as we head into this weekend with those storms. So let's talk